Hi everyone, Bandana here. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to something which I think is going to turn out to be a little bit special, and that is Dawn Apart. This is the love child of RimWorld and Factorio, taking the colony elements from RimWorld and mashing them together with the factory elements from Factorio. And yes, there's elements of other games like Dwarf Fortress in there, and you name any other factory game or prison architect or anything like that, and there's all of these elements coming together. Dawn Apart, however, is very early in development right now, and this demo that I'm playing today is a very early alpha demo. Now, I've played two versions of this demo, one that was about 3 months old and then one that they've just updated yesterday, and there has been a big jump in development over those 3 months. So the team are hard at work. The intention is to release into early access later this year, but the demo is going to be pushed as part of the Steam Next Fest that's coming up, I think. So they're trying to get it out there. I am genuinely quite excited for this game, and it takes a lot to get me excited for games these days, but I think if the team can stick with it and they stick to what they're planning, then they're going to have an incredible game on their hands. It's made in Unity, using specifically dots with Unity. For anyone who is not technically minded and not a game developer, the essence of that, from what it's been explained to me, is that it just allows you to do a lot more in Unity without it keeling over completely. That said, please bear in mind that this is very early development build, and as a result it's unstable, it will crash, it's not optimized, there's bugs, there's again lots of stuff missing. So if you do download it, you must bear all of that in mind. However, even if you don't get it in early access and you're into this type of game, you definitely need to wishlist this and keep an eye on it, because I genuinely think it could be something very special. Now, I'm going to hit start a new game. The reason for that is that we can have a look at the game and also have a look at the roadmap. So as I say, right now it is the basics, but when I first booted up the demo and read the premise of the game, I was like, I know where you're going with this. This is what I have in my mind as to what I think you're going to aim for. And I was very, very delighted to find that the roadmap hit the mark of exactly what I was expecting, and probably even more so. So they're on the right track in my mind, and the fact that they managed to get that across in a very early demo is, you know, I think that's quite an achievement, because there's plenty of games I play early on in development and think, I have no idea what you're aiming for here. But this one, I think they've got the right track. So I'm just going to pause the game so we can just have a little think about what's going on. We are on an alien planet. We have our colonists, which are called prospectors in this game. They're your workers, effectively, and they will do whatever tasks you assign them. And they also have, if I click on one, you can see they have their own needs and things like that. Very basic needs right now. Not a huge amount going on yet. We'll get to that in a minute. As you can see, the world is voxel based. Everything is teeny weeny little boxes, teeny little cubes, and you can manipulate everything. And if I just hit play for a second, something I really loved, the foliage blows around in the wind. Isn't that incredible? I don't play a lot of voxel games, so I'm not sure if that's common, I'll be honest with you, but it really impressed me. And there's such fantastic little details that you will see when we start playing the game, such as when the workers walk on a particular area and keep walking backwards and forwards over it, they gradually wear down the ground and make a little path. Which, I know that's something so silly, but I just really enjoyed the fact it did that. It's just little attention to detail. I always appreciate that. Obviously, there's a little message here thanking everyone for trying the game, and I expect they're going to keep some of this messaging for the early access version as well. They also would love to encourage people to report bugs and also join their Discord to give feedback, as they're always looking for playtesters and things like that. So feel free to do that as you wish. Now, I'm going to close this message, and the first thing we're going to do is just go to help. Because in help, right at the top, they have a roadmap. And there's little guides on everything else that's currently in the game. Obviously, there's even something about combat here, although combat is not in this demo. Just to reiterate, combat is not in this demo. It is coming with early access, but there isn't really any combat in this demo. The demo lasts for 5 days in-game, and then it will stop. I've gently suggested that they may want to increase that, just because anyone who is new to this type of game may struggle to feel like they've achieved much in 5 days if they're spending a lot of time working out how everything works. If you're an experienced player in Factorio, Rimworld, Satisfactory, things like that, then you're probably not going to struggle too much and you'll blast through it pretty quickly. Admittedly, I do wish there was a little bit more feedback of progression in this demo, but I've suggested that even if it's not for this demo, in future demos that they do, it might be worth trying to aim for that just to help new players along a bit more. But let's have a quick look at the roadmap. I'm not going to read it out completely. I don't think we need to. But they just, first and foremost, they say they're incredibly grateful for everyone's support. It says here in purchasing Dawn of Part, obviously it's prepped for the early access launch, but you get the idea. I think they even appreciate people downloading the demo and giving it a go. So, first up, they've got the heading here, deep interconnected systems. So one of the most difficult things, I think, for a game like this is making sure you get the balance right between the colony aspects and the Factorio type aspects, so your sort of automation and building up your factory. And I think they're sort of getting along the right lines here, because the other important thing when you're doing both is how they interact with each other. And they give a great example of the type of interaction they want to aim for. You place a bed inside a room filled with noisy, overheating machinery, and your prospector is forced to sleep here, and they would endure a miserable night's rest, leading to a lowered morale and reduced productivity. And over time, this fatigue may result in workplace accidents, heated arguments, or even outright violence, all stemming from that single oversight. So this is the type of thing they're aiming for. This stuff isn't really in yet, but it's what they're aiming for, and that's probably the most important thing, is that they have this plan in their minds. Or perhaps you construct a building out of wood because it's cheap to shelter your furnace from the rain, since water extinguishes them quickly. However, furnaces eject blazing hot ingots directly onto your wooden floor, which ignites fires almost immediately. So switching to non-flammable flooring would solve the issue. But why not turn this danger into an advantage, strategically ignite a line of wooden planks during an attack, creating a blazing barrier to surprise and to deter your enemies. This kind of stuff sounds amazing. I think it's going to be difficult to get all of this in, and if they manage it, I will be extremely impressed. But even if they can do half of this stuff, it will be a fantastic game. So, automation. So, they want the automation in Dawn of Part to offer a distinct experience compared to games like Factorio. So, they're trying deliberately not to replicate Factorio's style. As I say, I'm not going to read through all this. But they want to blend the automation with the colony simulation. So your colonists, or your prospectors in this case, will always be involved in what is going on. They will be working in the factory, and you have to worry about what's going on with them as well. Which takes us nicely into colony simulation. So right now, as I say, there's not a lot in there, but intent would be, in the late game, your colony might grow to 100 or more prospectors. And while getting to know each individual may not be feasible, you'll inevitably form strong attachments to some of them. And they greatly admire RimWorld, and that's where this aspect comes in. They want people to care about some of these colonists. They want there to be a connection. Right now, or in the early access when it first comes out, they can die because they get killed in a fight. But you're not really bothered, because they're just kind of there right now. You don't have to do a lot with them, but in the end, they want you to actually really care. The UI, as you can probably see from the screen right now, is pretty basic. It's going to get overhauled. But again, when you're developing a game early on, you want to have buttons that work, that are clear to understand. And that's what they've got right now. Buttons that work and are clear to understand. And I think they're hiring or looking to hire a UI designer anyway at the moment. So that is on the list of things to do, as you can see right there. An expanded trading system. Right now, the only trading you really do is with the company that sent you to the planet. And in the demo, you mine stuff for them and ship it off. However, in the final game, much like you would in other games, you will have traders that come and go to sell goods and buy goods. So all of that sort of thing will be added in as well. There will be pirates and rival factions. Obviously, pirates being pirates will try and raid and steal stuff. Rival factions are literally going to try and set up their own mining operations. So, things to consider. There will be prisoners and slaves, just as you would get in some of these other games like RimWorld. It will be beyond the traditional HR process. Vehicles. They have had a successful Kickstarter earlier in the year, which means they're committed to adding mechs with interchangeable modules for mining, terraforming and combat, and they're also exploring additional vehicles such as trains, tanks and dune buggies to capitalize on the destructible and interactive world that they've created. Building structures and integrity. So, when you build a structure in this game, you can just build upwards and try and avoid spreading out and bumping into pirates or other factions, etc., etc. The intention is to stop people doing that. There'll be structural integrity, and if you try and build too high, the building will just collapse. So that's quite a sensible way to deal with that. It's used in other games too. Weather, temperature, biomes, and seasons, all of this will be coming. Right now, it's just windy, and there's a day and night cycle. But they're planning to have all this other stuff added in, which is really cool. Because obviously it can make a huge difference to what's happening in the world, what's happening with your colonists, etc., etc. So if they're going to add all that, super. Prospectors' health, I guess that relates to weather a little bit. So right now, if there was combat, when they've done testing and things internally, your character or your colonist just dies when the health reaches 0. But they're aiming to make it more like RimWorld in that various parts of the body can be injured, you might have to replace things with augments and prosthetics, etc., etc., etc. So, lots of goals here. And even if they get it half as good as RimWorld, it will be a fantastic addition to this game. Obviously, on the back of that, Prospectors' needs, really basic right now, but long term, they want to add in everything, including emotions, preferences, relationships, the same as you would get in other games. You know, you'll have played games like this before, I'm sure. And, you know, it's important to keep people fed, and they say here, if things get truly desperate, like running out of food entirely, well, let's just say that prisoners might start looking like emergency rations. So, you know, they're talking about potentially being cannibalism here, which is very RimWorld, if you ask me. And then general quality of life improvements. Obviously, that's an ongoing thing, right? Quality of life is always important in games. Let me show you a little bit of the game now. I hope that's give you an insight into where they're aiming. As I say, when I first started playing it, that's what was in my head, if not less than that. I didn't think they'd go as far as some of this. So if they manage to achieve it all, they're going beyond my expectations. So, There's an alarm here, by the way, so if you do get attacked, you get a fun little alarm, and everyone will run to the nearest building and hide. But let's hit play. We've got a message here, Planetfall. I won't read through all of these. We'll just sort of blast through a few missions to start with. But it's just to give you an idea of what's going on. And there are, of course, little tips on, you know, rotating the camera and zooming in and out and moving around with WASD and everything else. I do hope that they add more camera options. You can sort of zoom out and look straight down, but I would love it if I could sort of be in this position here, but, you know, tilt the camera a little bit more upwards and get a better look at the landscape. Because at the minute you have to sort of zoom right down here to get it sort of panning up that way. So hopefully they add more options with the camera. Anyhow, workbenches are new. So the first thing we need to do is put down a workbench. If you've played a game like this before, well, you'll be no stranger to workbenches. We can rotate things with the R key and stick it down, and then one of our lovely characters or lovely workers will grab that and stick it in position. Then we'll get another tutorial pop up. There we go. If we click that, you always have to read the messages, by the way. Now we want to craft a furnace. So if we go here, we click Q recipe and we build a furnace. And then we'll go and collect the resources from the ship. If I take it down to roof removal level, you can see down here we've got various bits and pieces in those stockpiles. We've also got a couple of stockpiles out here. So now we need to place it down somewhere. Just close that for the moment. Doesn't matter where we place it right now. We're going to move things around. So I'm just going to stick it down there. So one of the things they want people to think about in this game is that you will have to, at times, delete buildings and rebuild and reposition, etc, etc, etc. And there's no penalty for that. If I delete this building, they literally just pick up the building and you can put it back down somewhere else. So now we need to get some iron ore, which is over here. So if I come down here, you'll see I've got a mine order. And then I just drag that. I can drag it over multiple or just put it on one. I'm going to put it on one for the moment. I've already switched my furnace to make steel ingots. And now I need to find some fuel. So there's some coal. So again, I'm just going to hit mine and get them to start mining the coal. Now, shortly, we are going to need some wood. So I'm going to also say to cut down that tree. The orders can be issued whenever you want, and they will either get round to them as they see fit, or you can issue priorities. So I could find one that's maybe not doing loads of other stuff. You've got cutting at level 4 ready. And you've got cutting at level 3. But I could just... This person's already doing some cutting, so I could just say, well, you do cutting first and foremost. That is your priority. You can also do schedules, which, for me, this always reminds me more of Prison Architect than anything else. But it's in lots of games. It's in RimWorld, etc, etc, etc. Now this person's just going to go around collecting resources. We need to stick the recipe on there again, because I managed to unselect it, which is my fault. Now the map isn't massive right now. I'm not sure I can really show you the very edge, but you can explore the entire map. There's not really anything there in this demo right now. You can see some of the random structures and things around the place that are pre-placed, but you can't really interact with them. They're just kind of there at the moment. What we do need to find is that, there it is. This is a special resource, which is what we're going to be asked to mine by the corporation. Oh, hang on. Forgot to read the message. And progresses on. Breaking ground. We need to craft a small mining drill and place it. So let's go here. Small mining drill. Takes 40 steel ingots. Now, Compared to the old demo, they have streamlined the crafting a bit and also streamlined the tutorial. It is still a little bit slow in places. I hope that they will improve that further in the future, just because I feel like right now it's not brilliant for brand new players to this type of game. I feel like they need probably a little bit more of a handhold to some extent. Great, our mining drill is ready, so we can stick that down. I think we stick that down here on the iron ore. You'll notice there is... Let's stick it there. You'll notice there's a yellow box. That is where it's going to mine. So anything that is in that yellow box will get mined out. I'm going to clear that because we don't really need anyone mining that anymore. The miner at the moment just does its own thing. You don't need to power it. But I expect at some point there will be possibly a need to power those. Next up, we need to build a carpenter's bench. So that allows us to build other things. So if we go here, recipes, there we go, build that. We will also need to think about cutting down some more trees because we're going to need more wood. Because sooner or later, we're going to need to build a little building, which will be a wooden shack, as far as I'm concerned. There we go. Let's get that popped down as well. There's no rain or anything at the moment, so these can be outside without any negative effects. You have 5 days to finish the demo. 5 in-game days. It's because it's kind of open-ended. Again, I do think that maybe a couple more days than 5 might be beneficial to newer players who haven't played a game like this before. But if you're experienced in Factorio or similar, then you shouldn't have too many issues. So, next job is to construct a toilet, a Mr. Soylent, which is a vending machine, and a sink. I will put some flooring down for this though. So if I click here, I can build a few wooden floors. Wooden floors are also treated as being able to put down wooden roofs. So if you build the wooden floor here, you can choose either to have flooring or roofing. And also notice there's palisade walls to protect your base. Various other types of walls, stairs. We'll get a couple of doors on the go and a couple of walls as well, so we can wall off the toilet. The people aren't shy. If they need a toilet, they will just go in front of everybody else. That sort of stuff isn't in the game yet, but expect it to be in eventually. So we're going to stick down 4 of those at the moment. The grass will stick through the floor. Just one of those things. Again, I imagine that eventually that will be changed. But we'll stick down these items pretty quickly, just so it's done. So I'll stick this down here, and then we'll stick the toilet down in this corner here. As I say, they're not going to be shy, they're just going to go and use it. But we will try to put a little wall and roof on that very shortly. Next mission. I can't remember what it is now. Okay, we've got 2. So, commence mining operations immediately. So we need a special miner to mine this resource, the purple resource. So we'll do that now. And they also want us to build a barracks with a couple of beds. So I'll open that just to say we've seen it. So our carpenter's workbench, we're going to queue a couple of beds. You will notice that if I click on this, you sort of have all the basic manufacturing stuff. So you've got a chamber that makes a type of fuel which you will need for this new miner. You get some given for free at the start of the game. This, which makes copper rods, steel gears, and granite slabs or granite bricks. You've got an industrial cutter, which makes copper plates and steel plates. And then you've got a red assembler, which makes various other things that you would otherwise have to make at the workbench. So over here you can see we've got a huge patch of this stuff. We're going to grab this, put down our miner. You see the miner is a bit different in its shape and everything. We're just going to stick it down there. How are we doing on crafting? It's alright, we're not looking too bad at the moment. So that will now need fuel. If you hover over the fuel, you can see it either takes red, blue, or green. Red is the basic one, and you do start with some in your ship. That job's done. Now we're just waiting for these beds to get crafted. It wanted you to build a stockpile, but we've already built a stockpile, so we don't need to do that. There are stockpiles here, you see. We can put down stockpiles. You can put down stockpiles, for example, I can put one down at the miner, and the miner will just put everything into the stockpile automatically. There are conveyor belts in the game, but they are very buggy right now, and did lead to my game crashing a few times. So they definitely work, but they can be a bit buggy at the moment. Obviously, this is all stuff that they've got to work on. Again, it is a very early alpha build of the game. There's a lot of work to do still. Right, we're building those now. We also need to build a spaceport. So the spaceport is quite interesting. We need to flatten the ground. It will explain to you if you read this and watch this little clip how to do it. Basically, we need to level the ground. The best place for it is probably going to be over here, just behind this. So we will need to cut that tree down, and then we need to level a 5x5 area. So that big. There we go. So we will now mine that out. And level the ground. And obviously chop that tree down. This is now doing its thing and producing this resource. What we could actually do again is stick down a stockpile there so that that gets collected. Save us going back and forth with it. Any resource that just drops on the ground, your little people will have to go and pick up. Which obviously is a lot of extra work. We'll stick down a couple of beds here. Really would like to put a some walls around this. I feel a bit cruel for not doing so. Probably should have made this room a little bit bigger actually, but never mind. We will, there's the roofs, we'll stick that on top. We have to press tab twice to get to the roof height. There we go. Wait, did that go down? It did go down, it's just because I've got roof removal ticked, so we can't see it, but there you go. They're not going to get privacy on the toilet. I can't put the door down. My bad. Sorry guys. You'll get over it. As I say, they don't really care at the moment. I haven't chopped down this tree. Hang on. There we go. That should cut it down. As you can see, they're starting to come and level the ground out. So, a spaceport, I'll just show you quickly. If I click on it here, it's sort of a little section 2x2, and then a 5x5 section behind it, which is where the ship will land. But it has to be completely flat. You cannot place it unless it is completely flat. There's no speed increase at the moment, so you're going at this pace. That is something that maybe will come with optimization. I don't know if they've mentioned it anywhere, but games like this usually have multiple speeds. You know, like 1 times, 2 times, 4 times. So I imagine that will be an end goal, but it might cause stability issues right now due to it being so early in development. So I can forgive it for not being there at the moment, but it's something I'd like to see. It would be nice to have at the end of the day, especially when you just sat around waiting for things to happen. We're very close here now. There's just 1 square left. Worried that it's not as flat as I would have liked. Oh, hang on. I'm also slightly too high. That's an issue. Ah, there we go. It's because I had raised the build thing up to put the roof on. You have to put it back down. Oh, it is flat except for this, so I need to cut this all down. It's just in the way of the spaceport. It's a slightly bigger plant. It's not just grass. As you can see in our stockpiles, by the way, that I put down, it is just filling up now with the resource. This will stop working once it's used up all the fuel. I'm just clicking there. There we go. So yeah, we've lost all that fuel now. We will get some as a reward for completing some of the missions, but you can also make your own. Get this down though. Now I don't want to play through the entire demo for the full 5 days. That would obviously be crazy. I just want to sort of give you a feel for the game and what it has to offer. You can explore the map. As I say, there are random buildings and things that you can't really interact with yet, but the intention will be one day that you will have some interaction with them. Currently they're just there to be aesthetically pleasing. And the maps, I assume, going to be bigger in the final version of the game, and it's just limited more for the demo. But obviously, again, that'll depend on stability and things like that. So, we started mining that stuff, and they've given us a task. 2 tasks, in fact. One is they want copper ingots. So we now need to start mining copper, and they want 200 of that resource. So at this stage, you need to start mining copper, which is over here. Now, on top of mining copper, you probably want to start properly mining coal with a miner. So you want to build a couple of miners. Let's have a look. So we can build up to 5 miners. So let's build 2. And then we also need to build more furnaces. Furnaces are a little bit more difficult, so we'll actually build 3 small mining drills. And we need to build furnaces which take bricks. So we will also need a stone masonry table so that we can make the granite bricks or granite slabs. Otherwise, you would need a punch press, which we would need copper for, which we don't have yet. So all of this stuff comes, as you can see, it flows through. To make this, we need to build this. To make this, we need to build that. Some things we can make at workbenches. Some things we can't. So it does take a little while to fathom that out sometimes. Hence, if it's your first time playing, you're going to have a harder time of it than someone who's played it a few times like I have. Also, if you've played this type of game before, it does really help with following this kind of stuff. But you get the idea. There's quartz, which I've not needed for anything yet, but it is there. Copper. Granite. And I haven't seen any other resources yet, but I imagine eventually there will be more. I think this is just what they've got right now. I'd imagine that will expand at some point. I mean, what would a space game be without some uranium planted somewhere? But I don't want to make this video any longer. I hope that's given you a little idea of what the game is like. Many of you, I'm sure, will go and try it yourself. I never tell anyone to buy things in early access, because obviously there's risk of games going bust and not being finished, and various things can go wrong. So a decision to buy in early access has to be a decision you are making yourself. But if you're into this type of game, I highly recommend giving the demo a go. Please accept first that it is very early alpha and it will be buggy and it's not finished. There's a lot still to be done and a lot of features to be added. But I'd recommend wishlisting it. It will help them out massively, getting wish lists. And also it means that you get updated on what's happening with it. So definitely one to keep an eye on, if nothing else, because I genuinely think this game has massive potential. And I'm going to leave this video there, but I highly recommend checking it out. Thanks very much for watching, everyone. I hope you all have a great weekend, and I can't wait to see where the developers take this. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all soon.